Welcome to the Top Academy, baby.
Oh yeah,
Here we go. Here we go. We said we wouldn't say it.
we do.
Can't not say it. How do you not say it?
We say it every time. It's great.
I know. Where's your mic, bro? What's going on? Oh
Up
man.
up, man.
Okay. So you're stepping up. You're yeah,
Standing.
you gotta see the mic.
Standing today.
Standing. Good.
Gotta,
We have a standing desk.
yeah, you pop it up, but it's like, I stand when I pitch. So I
That's
should
good.
actually, what you got to do, you sit to close. So
Sit to close, stand when you pitch.
I should sit down for this one because you want to be. That's always something I've said to the guys. It's like motion creates emotion. So you want to be moving while you're pitching and go in there, and like it gets you on your flow. But then when it's time to close, sit down to hone that energy in.
I love it.
Which maybe I should do since the topic for today
is closing the meeting. Let's go. So people may think, all right, so what? We're learning how to do the intro. Now we're learning how to do the closing. Like, when are we going to get into the real sales stuff? But it's all about the fundamentals and doing it really, really well. Doesn't matter what new job you go to, what new industry, you have to get the intro and the outro done. The intro sets that credibility. The outro is what you're closing for the next step. You don't just close a deal on the first call. Sometimes that happens, but you're closing next steps. So you got to have those two bookends very, very solid. You got to master that piece. I like it when I talk to my reps before they go into a meeting. I said, hey, what's the ideal next step of the meeting? Before they actually go into their meeting, they usually tell me about the history of the account, people involved, who's joining on our side, what their plan is for the meeting. That's all good stuff. But my first question is, what's your ideal next step for the meeting? Because knowing this allows the rep and myself to discuss what really is the best next step, or is there a better next step we're not seeing? It also allows the rep to keep their meeting on track and stay focused on the outcome. And finally, it allows me to validate if their meeting was a success or not by asking if the ideal next step was achieved. Because, Tom, reps at the end of the meeting, how was the meeting? Oh, it was great, man. It went 3 hours over. It was great. He loved it. And next thing you know, a week or a month later, you're asking about that deal. Like, I don't know, they went dark, right? So you may feel like you had a great meeting, but this is one way to know for sure. So understanding that next step, building that meeting up into the crescendo where okay, this is where I'm going to close it and hold it for the next time. But how do you do that? So the key is now going into phrases that allow you to control the room, get meetings booked. One thing you could do is say, all right, I know we're running short on time. So what I'd like to do as a next step is get my SE involved. Let's see, let me look at the calendar here. I am available next week. How does the week of the 12th look for you? You see what I did there is I'm literally looking at my calendar and I'm talking out loud as I'm searching, which then automatically gets the other side of the table to start doing the same thing. By you saying, hey, all right, so let's look at the calendar here. Let me see. How does the week, just like that, automatically says, okay, he's looking at his calendar. I'm going to start to look at my calendar. And you're prepping them.
Let me just jump in real quick there, Paul, because I like what you're doing. It's assumptive. You're not asking for permission. You're not asking for that. It's just, look, this has been a good meeting. So the next step is to bring the SE in. And a way that I also like to tweak that sometimes is you tell a story, right? Like, so a client story real quick. So it's like, so typically with other, companies like you at work, when we're at this point, I'll bring in my SE, but we'll bring in from your side the CFO. It generally makes sense for them to get involved here. So you start getting them thinking, and it's like, this is just a natural next step. This is what is supposed to happen. So I think it's really important to be specific in that, but also when you're closing a meeting out, you're closing on those next steps. It's what is the date? Never like, oh, they said, call me next week.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many times, and senior reps, so they're like, yeah, they call us next Friday. Okay, what time are you talking to them? They said call in the afternoon. What time in the afternoon are you calling? I'll probably give him a call around 2. What do you mean? It should be on the calendar.
On the calendar. Yeah. And if you notice, Tom and I have said this one key word a couple times. What's that key word? Do you remember, Tom?
Calendar.
Let's.
Yeah.
So Tom and I say let's a lot. That's great. That's a great transition into scheduling. Let's look at our calendar. Let's look at sometime next week. And sometimes I say what I'd like to do is introduce what I'd like to do. So try to integrate that. What I'd like to do is introduce you to my VP. What I'd like to do is introduce you to my chief revenue officer as a next step here. And it's got to be crisp. It can't be very weak. So that's one tactic. That's one technique. But start working on the closing, and we'll come up with more closings at the end. And we talked about the crescendo. The very best TV shows know when to break for commercial. It's carefully planned when they're cutting to commercial during a climax of the scene. The very best salespeople do the same thing with their meetings. They carefully plan ahead to make sure that their next steps are being discussed at the right time at the climax of the meeting. One of the best ways to do this that works for me and Tom almost every time will be shared right after this episode.
1%. Take it from the top, man. 1%.